I think we left off on 21. Is that right?
I believe so.
I thought we had stuff. Did we finish the humidity level exercise?
Let me see. No, you're right. We didn't.
Okay.
So we must be. Well, yeah. So on 21, right? Is that what everybody else is tracking?
That's where I left off 21. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. David S., can you read this?
Boolean logic. Boolean logic is used to make more complicated conditions of if statements that rely on more than one condition. Python's Boolean operators and or and not. The AND operator takes two arguments and evaluates the trues and evaluates as true if and only if both of its operators are true. Otherwise, it evaluates to false. Boolean operators can be used in expressions as many times as needed.
All right. So let's go ahead and start the humidity level. And then once you get that done, just raise your hand like usual. All right, looks like a lot of you are done. Jacob, can you do screen share and show your answer? Okay, so with this one, you take the input, convert it to an int, and if humidity is greater than or equal to 40 and humidity is less than or equal to 60, print norm. So good job. All right. And then this one, what is the result of this code? If 1 equals 1, so if 1 equals 1 and 2 plus 2 is greater than 3, so both those are true, so it's going to print true. All right. Brian A., can you read this one?
Boolean OR. The OR operator also takes two arguments. It evaluates to true if either or both of its arguments are true, and false if both arguments are false. Besides values, you can also compare variables.
All right. So, well, I should have given you a second, but this one, or, so if either of them are true, print welcome. Okay. Mike, can you read this one?
Unlike other operators we've seen so far, not only takes one argument and inverts it. The result of not true is false, and not false goes true. If we weren't already confused enough, you can chain multiple conditional statements in an if statement using the Boolean operators.
Okay. So any questions about Boolean operators? I mean, it's pretty straightforward with, you know, true, false, and or not. But any questions so far? Okay. And did it again. What's the result of this code? If not true, no, if not true, print 1, but it is true. Elif not true, or elif not 1 plus 1 equals 3. Well, it doesn't, 1 plus 1 does not equal 3, so it's the not is true. So it prints 2. Okay. Patricia, can you read the next one?
Yeah. Okay, operator precedence. Operator precedence is a very important concept in programming. It is an extension of the mathematical idea of order of operations, multiplication being performed before addition, etc., to include other operators such as those in Boolean logic. The below code shows that equals has a higher precedence than or. Python's order of operations is the same as that of normal mathematics. Parentheses first, then exponentation, then multiplication, division, and then addition, subtraction.
Are you still sick, Patricia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I won't call you again. Who else was sick? Is anybody else still sick and not able to read?
Me.
Oh, my bad. Well, 2 of the people I called. My bad. Okay. But yeah, so it's just like PEMDAS from school. I'm sure you remember. But yeah. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, go ahead and take a second to answer the next question. Okay, what's the result of this code? If 1 plus 1 times 3 equals 6, so multiplication first. So 1 times 3 is 3 plus 1 is only 4. So it's going to be no. So PEMDAS, multiplication, division, parentheses. Wait. Okay. Well, I don't know. You know what it is. All right. So let's see. Jacob, can you read this one?
Chaining multiple conditions. You can chain multiple conditions, conditional statements in an if statement using the Boolean operators. For example, we can check if the value of the grade is between 70 and 100. You can use multiple and or not operators to chain multiple conditions together.
All right. So go ahead and start on this one and then raise your hand once you're done. All right. Roger, would you mind doing screen share and sharing your answer? Okay. Can you make it bigger?
Yes. Whoa.
Okay. So with this one, if type equals Visa or type equals Amex, then print accepted. All right. Good job.
Hey, Brandon, quick question on this one.
Uh-huh.
I have it. I can screen share real quick, but I just, for some reason, like only part of my test case is passed. So I'm assuming I'm missing something simple.
Yeah, can you do screen share?
Yeah.
Go to the problem so I can see. Oh, you need type equals Visa.
Oh, I can't just do Amex or Visa.
No, it's so each statement's its own statement standing on its own. So yeah, you have
Oh,
to
okay.
put what it is each time. All right.
All right. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Actually, I'm having an issue as well.
Okay, can you do screen share?
I know it's probably a typo.
Oh, you put a if. You just need one if at the beginning, and then your ors or whatever. So get rid of that second if. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now go ahead and run it, and there you go.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Anybody else having issues? Unmute and let me know. Nope. Okay. All right. So the next one, what's the result of this code? X equals 4, Y equals 2. If not, 1 plus 1 equals Y. So this one is true, but it's saying if not. So, or X equals 4. So this is also true, but it's if not. And then elif X is greater than Y, X is greater than Y, so it's going to print no. Okay. And let's see. Kevin, can you read this one?
Lists. Lists are used to store items. A list is created using square brackets with commas separating items. In the example above, the words list contains 3 string items. A certain item in the list can be accessed by using its index in square brackets. The first list items index is 0 rather than 1, as might be expected.
So this is just like JavaScript where the first one's 0, and lists are similar to JavaScript as well, even though they don't call them lists. They've got arrays, or then they've got other more advanced arrays once you get into like the ES6 stuff. But anyway, any questions on this? So if we run this, it's going to print our hello world, because first prints first one, then second, then third. No questions? Okay. Go ahead, answer the next question. Okay, what is the result of this code? Nums 1 is going to be 4 because 0 and then 1. All right, Roger, can you read this one?
Yes. Sometimes you need to create an empty list and populate it later during the program. For example, if you are creating a queue management program, the queue is going to be empty in the beginning and get populated with people data later. An empty list is created with an empty pair of square brackets. In some code samples, you might see a comma after the last item in the list. It's not mandatory, but perfectly valid.
Yeah, so you'll have empty lists all the time, and because generally when you especially if you're like populating it with something like a for loop or something, or a while loop, so x equals 0 while x is less than 10, print empty list. Actually, we don't need to print empty list. Let's print x. Print x and empty list dot append x plus equals 1. And then print empty list. Okay, so like if you're doing something like this, where you've got like a while loop or for loop or something, or more likely something from the database, because you know how we do the for a in, you know, basic search or whatever, right? If you're getting stuff from the database and like saving it to a list, if like let's say it meets a specific parameter, so like here maybe we do if x or 2 equals 0. So if we run that and then just get the, you know, get the even ones, if it meets some sort of specific thing, then you're gonna put it into the empty list or whatever, and then, you know, print it out later or do something with it, or like only pull from those later in your program or whatever, or like I'm sure they'll teach you about this later, but like okay, so if 2 in empty list, so like you can see if a value's in it or whatever, and if it is, then it's 2. Right, so like you can see if values are in your list. Like anyway, long story short, that's kind of why you would use an empty list and start with an empty list and then fill it up later, as opposed to just putting all your answers in it from the get-go, you know, like you could, one, you could fill it from the beginning, but more often than not, you'll have an empty list. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay. All right, go ahead and start this fruit vending machine and raise your hand once you're done. All right, Mark, could you do share screen and share your answer, please? All right, so this one with fruits, if so we've got our comparison operator there on line 4, if the num that was input as input is less than 0, or if the number is greater than 7, print wrong number. Else print the fruit with that number. So basically saying that, just do those ones. Any questions?
Am I the only person who did that one? I mean, it works, but I did it a much longer way.
Oh, okay. You want to do screen share, Mike, so we can see your way?
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't know why I did it so poorly.
Probably not poorly, just different. I mean, yours might be more readable.
It was terrible. I just went with like my basic logic, and I didn't even think to use the array in the else statement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, this works, but
It's a lot uglier than what worked for you guys.
well, it is what it is. 100 ways yeah, whatever gets the job done at the end of the day is all that really matters. So, all right. Moving on. Anybody having issues with that one? Nope. Okay. All right, how many items are in this list? There's only one, because yes, there's a comma, but there's nothing after it. So, all right, let's see.
Got anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, man, I'm having such a hard time with my headset. I was talking the whole time. I was saying that I have an issue. I try to input the code and I'm getting an error.
Okay, can you do screen share? Okay, let's see.
The
You need to
capitalization of
capitalize the
wrong.
W.
Yeah, you need a capital W for on line 6. Okay, now try running it. And good. All right. So moving on. All right. Samantha, can you read this one?
Typically, a list will contain items of a single item type, but it is also possible to include several different types. Lists can be also nested within other lists. Nested lists can be used to represent 2D grids such as matrices. For example, a matrix-like structure can be used in cases where you need to store data in row column format. For example, when creating a ticketed program, the seat numbers can be stored in a matrix with their corresponding rows and numbers. Code above outputs the third item in the second row.
So you'll see whenever you're working with JSON, which you'll get a lot, like a lot of APIs, or pretty much all APIs, return their results in JSON format. APIs are application interfaces. So like if let's say ADP, right? The payroll company, right? If you want to be able to access your clients data or whatever to build some program for them and use their ADP or their API, it's going to spit out result like your you guys probably know what API is, but I'll just explain it anyway. Like you want your web server to talk to their web server. Well, what they do is they just display. So if you have like the right key and everything, so that you have access to that page, then like they just display a web page that just has JSON on it, no HTML or anything. It's just straight JSON, and then your web server then reads that and then takes the data out of it. But it's usually nested like this in JSON format. So it'll always start with like the curly brackets, but then like it'll have lists of lists nested inside there, so that like let's say one of the results was past addresses or something, right? Well, that'll have multiple multiple entries or whatever. So inside that list of different topics or whatever, it's going to have another list listing the other multiple things or whatever. But anyway, and the way it works is, so see, we're doing, okay, list 1. So the first one is 0. So then 1 is this one. And then you want 2 of the second one. Well, 0, 1, 2. And like you could even have another list in this list, right? And then do and then you're getting 1, right? So you can have as many nested lists as you need to. Any questions on that, or does that all make sense?
How come it's only printing out 1 number instead of 3?
Because we're accessing the nested part of the list. So we're accessing the first section. So here's the original list, right? The M, and we're accessing 1, so 0, 1, right? And then we're
okay, I see it.
and then we're accessing the second one, so 0, 1, 2, and then we're accessing the 0, so the first one of that one. Like if you just did this, you're going to get the output of the full list and list everything, right? But we're wanting to deep dive into it, and that's why we're adding those additional brackets with the numbers. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Take a second and answer the next question. Okay, so fill in the blanks to create a list and print its third element. So the bracket, and then you want the third one. So starting with 0, 0, 1, 2. All right. Sandra K, can you read this one?
Some type, such as strings, can be indexed like lists. Indexing strings behaves as though you are indexing a list containing each character in the string. Here's an example. Space, double quotation is also a symbol and has an index. Trying to access a non-existing index will produce an error.
All right, so we do this, then we get W because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? But if, let's say, what it's talking about is if you try and do too many, then you get a index out of range error. Okay, go ahead and answer the next question. Okay, which line of code will cause an error? Line 4, because it wants num5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there is no 5, so it gets an error. Ayani, can you read this one?
List operations. The item at a certain index in a list can be reassigned. For example, you can replace the item with an item of a different type.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and run that. So, and this is similar to, remember when we were doing sessions? Because sessions works the same way, right? So remember we did self.sessions and then the brackets, you know, equals whatever you want to assign to that session. It's the same thing with lists, right? So you want the second one, so 0, 1, 2 to equal 5, right? So that's just how you change different items on lists. Any questions about that? Okay, go ahead, answer the next question. All right, what's the result of this code? All right, so nums3 equals nums1. So we want the third one. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So the 4 to equal nums1, which is 2. And then when we print nums3, we are getting 2. All right. Brian, could you read this one?
List operations. Lists can be added and multiplied in the same way as strings. For example, try yourself. List and strings are similar in many ways. Strings can be thought of as lists of characters that can't be changed.
Okay, so we'll run that, and you can see the nums plus 4, 5, 6 results in that, and nums times 3 just does it, you know, 3 times. Any questions on that? Okay, go ahead, answer the next question. Okay, so fill in the blanks to create a list, reassign its second element, and print the whole list. So first off, closing off the list with the bracket, and then the second element 0, 1, and then printing it. Okay. Mike, can you read this one?
List operations. To check if an item is in a list, the in operator can be used. It returns true if the item occurs one or more times in the list and false if it doesn't. The in operator is also used to determine whether or not a string is a substring of another string. And then the bingo, given a list of numbers, output bingo if it contains the input number.
All right, so we kind of talked about in earlier, but basically it's just checking whether it's in it or not, and then returns a Boolean value of true or false. So a lot of times you do the if statement with the in. All right. Yeah, any questions on that? Oh, okay. Go ahead and start this and raise your hand once you're done. All right. Roger, would you mind doing share screen? And I'm always explaining the answers. I'm gonna let y'all start explaining your answers. You could please explain your answer. You're muted, Roger.
All right, so I just put in if num in items, 4288, so up top, if it's in their print bingo.
All right, good stuff. All right, any questions on that? Okay. So moving on. So what's the result of this code? Nums equals this, and then nums 0. So we're changing the 10 to nums 1 minus 5. So 9 minus 5. So we've got 4. So if 4 in nums, print nums 3. So nums 0, 1, 2, 3 is 7, since the 4 is now in nums once we did all that changing. All right. Jacob, can you go ahead and read this one?
List operations. To check if an item is not in a list, you can use the not operator in one of the following ways. Tap, try it yourself, play around with the code.
So this is useful for if you're trying to build a list and you don't want to add duplicates or whatever, right? So you do, if not in the current list, then append list, right? So go ahead, answer the next question. All right, so fill in the blanks to print yes if the list contains Z. So if Z in letters, then print yes. And since it is, it printed yes. All right, that's a good place to stop. We're about at that time. Let me stop the video